Nnamdi Kanu, a concise narrative of arrests and courtroom drama, 2015-2021. Who he is. Short. Nnamdi Kanu is the leader of the Indigenous People of Biafra IPOB, a separatist movement that campaigns for independence for the southeastern region of Nigeria. He became prominent through online broadcasts and the radio/TV Biafra platforms, and by the mid-2010s drew intense attention from Nigerian security services and the courts. 2015, first arrest and detention. In October 2015, Nigerian security forces arrested Nnamdi Kanu after a series of incendiary broadcasts and public rallies. The Department of State Services (DSS), Nigeria's domestic intelligence agency, detained him on charges related to treasonable actions and broadcasting material the authorities said threatened national security. His 2015 arrest and extended detention set the tone for a long legal battle. Kanu and his supporters said he was being punished for peaceful advocacy and free speech. The government argued his actions amounted to incitement and threats to national unity. 2015 to 2017, protracted pretrial phase, bail and jumping bail. Kanu spent lengthy periods in DSS custody while investigations and charges were prepared. In 2017, a Nigerian court granted him bail. However, the period around his release was chaotic. Kanu did not remain in Nigeria to continue his proceedings. Authorities and court records later treated his absence as jumping bail, i.e. failure to remain for trial, an allegation that has been central to later legal proceedings. His supporters maintain he left fearing for his safety. Critics say he evaded the judicial process. 2017 to 2020, exile, activism from abroad and escalation. After leaving Nigeria, Kanu resurfaced abroad and continued his broadcasts and organizing. His profile grew internationally and domestically. IPOB attracted more attention, and the Nigerian government moved to proscribe IPOB and its armed wing in some later actions. The leadership vacuum and Kanu's absence complicated efforts to resolve the outstanding Nigerian criminal processes against him. During these years, Nigeria continued to pursue legal and diplomatic avenues to have him return to face the outstanding charges. 2021, rearrest in Kenya and return to Nigeria, controversial. In mid-2021, Nigerian authorities announced Kanu had been rearrested and returned to Nigeria. The case drew immediate international attention because the precise circumstances of his transfer were contested. The Nigerian government said Kanu had been arrested overseas and brought back to Nigeria to resume trial. Nigerian officials described cooperation among security services as the mechanism that allowed his return. Kenyan officials publicly questioned whether Kenyan authorities had been aware of or formally involved in the arrest and transfer. Initial Kenya statements indicated they were not informed and were investigating claims about how the arrest and removal took place. That ambiguity gave rise to accusations, voiced by human rights groups, legal teams and some international media, that Kanu had been subjected to an extraordinary rendition or extrajudicial transfer rather than a routine extradition process through normal legal/diplomatic channels. International rights organizations and some legal observers raised due process and human rights questions about the manner of his return, noting that if Kanu had been apprehended and transferred without proper legal process in the host country, it would raise concerns under international law and Kenyan and Nigerian domestic law. Upon arrival in Nigeria, Kanu was detained and returned to court to face the outstanding charges, including allegations tied to treasonable felony and terrorism-related counts. His reappearance in Nigeria allowed the federal prosecution to reactivate the criminal case that had been stalled by his absence. The fiscal and diplomatic ripple effects of the arrest, press inquiries, legal motions by Kanu's defense team, and debates about jurisdiction and lawful transfer dominated the coverage for weeks. Key legal and political flashpoints in the narrative. Charges and gravity. The most serious allegations against Kanu have been treasonable felony and terrorism-related offenses, charges that, in Nigeria, carry heavy consequences and provoke intense public interest and political debate. The government framed him as a security threat. His supporters framed him as a persecuted political dissident. Bail, court jurisdiction and absconding. The 2017 bail and his subsequent failure to remain in the jurisdiction is a central procedural fact used by prosecutors to justify court actions against him. Defense teams repeatedly raised issues about the legality of his detention and the court's jurisdiction at various stages. Contested transfer in 2021. Whether Kanu's return was a lawful extradition, an orchestrated rendition involving third countries, or some hybrid operation is a disputed point that shaped reactions in Kenya, Nigeria, and beyond. That controversy fed legal motions on admissibility, jurisdiction, and the legality of his detention, once he was back in Nigeria. Why the 2015-2021 arc matters. Rule of law versus national security debate. Kanu's case sits at the collision of counterterrorism/national security priorities and civil liberties concerns, freedom of expression, assembly, and political dissent. How states balance those priorities is central to the case's stakes. International diplomacy and procedural norms. The contested facts around his return from Kenya in 2021 illustrate how high-profile political cases can have diplomatic fallout when procedure, extradition law, host country involvement, is unclear. Long-term legal consequences. Kanu's reappearance allowed prosecutors to resume prosecutions that had been stalled. His defense teams have continued to raise procedural and jurisdictional objections, matters that can substantially influence eventual outcomes, dismissal, conviction, or other remedies. Here is a detailed legal timeline for Nnamdi Kanu, M&K, followed by a legal analysis section of the extradition/rendition issues, especially the Kenyan connection, under Kenyan, Nigerian, and international law. This is as comprehensive as publicly available sources allow. There are gaps and contested facts. 1. Legal timeline, charges, court filings, bail orders, major rulings. 2015 to 2017. October 2015. Kanu is first arrested by Nigeria's security services, the Department of State Services, DSS, on charges relating to treasonable felony and broadcasting via his organization, Indigenous People of Biafra, IPOB. See context summary. 2017. Kanu granted bail by a Nigerian court. After release, he fails to appear for further trial proceedings and is declared to have jumped bail. Referenced in Reuters/others. Major point. His bail was revoked and a bench warrant issued for his arrest because of his absence. 2017 to 2020. During this period, Kanu is abroad, in exile, not present in Nigeria to stand trial. The Nigerian prosecution is stalled. 2021. June 2021. Kanu is rearrested in Kenya. Details of arrest transfer are contested, and brought to Nigeria to resume trial. See extradition/rendition section. June 29, 2021. Kanu brought before a Nigerian trial court without prior notice to his counsel, remanded in DSS custody. Sources indicate he was arraigned without legal representation. 2022. Early 2022. Charges are amended. Kanu's case reportedly moves from an initial 5-count charge to a 15-count amended charge on January 17, 2022. April 8, 2022. The trial court strikes out 8 of the 15 counts on a preliminary objection, though leaves open jurisdiction and other issues. October 13, 2022. The Nigerian Court of Appeal holds that Kanu's arrest/return from Kenya was an extraordinary rendition and a violation of extradition treaty. 2023 to 2024. March 19, 2024. A Nigerian federal court denies bail to Kanu and orders his terrorism trial, 7-count charge, to proceed. 2025. March 21, 2025. A fresh trial begins under a new judge, Justice James Omotosho, at the Federal High Court in Abuja. May 22, 2025. The defense concludes cross-examination of prosecution's second witness. The court sanctions tight schedule for remaining trial days. July 18, 2025. The court adjourns proceedings until October 10, 2025 to allow for ruling on no case submission filed by defense. September 22, 2025. The court brings forward the ruling date on the no case submission to September 26, 2025 from October 10. October 16, 2025. The court adjourns to October 23, 2025 for Kanu's defense to open, with a deadline of October 30, 2025 for closing his defense. June 27, 2025. Separately, a Kenyan High Court, Nairobi, declares Kanu's rendition from Kenya to Nigeria illegal, awarding damages of 10 million Kenyan shillings. 2. Legal analysis, extradition/rendition questions. 2.1 Key legal issues. Extradition versus rendition. Extradition is a formal process between states under treaties/statutes. Rendition, especially extraordinary rendition, refers to transfer of a person without formal legal extradition procedures. The central legal question is whether Kanu's return from Kenya to Nigeria occurred via lawful extradition or an unlawful rendition/abduction. Jurisdiction and due process. If Kanu was illegally transferred, questions arise whether Nigerian courts have jurisdiction, and whether any trial is tainted by due process violation, illegally obtained transfer, lack of access to counsel, pretrial detention, etc. State responsibility. Both Kenya and Nigeria bear obligations under domestic constitutions and international human rights law, e.g. ICCPR, UN Convention Against Torture, to protect the rights of a person on their territory, including rights to fair trial, human dignity, freedom from torture, and to challenge removal. Doctrine of specialty. In extradition law, when a person is surrendered, they may only be tried for offenses specified. If removed outside formal process, this doctrine may be breached. Analyzed in legal commentary. 2.2 Kenyan law and the Kenyan High Court judgment. Under Kenya's Constitution, 2010, any person lawfully in Kenya is entitled to fundamental rights, e.g. security of person, freedom from torture. The Nairobi High Court Justice E.C. Mwita held on June 24, 2025 that Kenya violated those rights in Kanu's case. His abduction, incommunicado detention, torture, denial of food/medication, and forcible removal were illegal. The court found Kenya's government liable and awarded 10 million Kenyan shillings in damages. It declared the removal unconstitutional and illegal. This judgment sets a strong precedent within Kenyan jurisprudence about state responsibility for unlawful transfers. Under Kenyan jurisprudence, the lack of formal extradition and the presence of ill treatment were key to the ruling. 2.3 Nigerian law and international implications. In Nigeria, the fact of Kanu's claimed extraordinary rendition is central to his defense. If transfer violated his rights, his trial may arguably be flawed or subject to challenge. Indeed, a Nigerian court of appeal in 2022 held the rendition violated treaty obligations. However, the Nigerian Supreme Court has held that even if irregularities existed in his transfer, it did not remove the jurisdiction of the Nigerian courts to try him. Thus, the trial has continued notwithstanding these issues. International law. The UN Working Group on Arbitrary Detention (WDD) has opined that the facts of Kanu's transfer amount to a violation of rights under the ICCPR, Article 9, the UN Convention Against Torture, and the UN Convention for the Protection of All Persons from Enforced Disappearance. The doctrine of non-refoulement in contexts of extradition/transfer, and prohibition on handing persons to countries where they risk torture or unfair trial are also implicated. Kenyan lawyer commentary. 2.4 Precedents and comparative law. Cases of extraordinary rendition in global jurisprudence, e.g. European Court of Human Rights decisions on unlawful transfer, show that transfer without legal process may taint subsequent criminal proceedings, e.g. Soering v. United Kingdom, Chahal v. UK. Nigeria-Kenya bilateral extradition treaty questions. The Court of Appeal's ruling emphasized that even if a treaty exists, the terms must be complied with. The failure to provide an extradition hearing, judicial review, means the surrender may violate treaty and custom. Domestic Nigerian jurisprudence is still evolving. While courts recognize rights violations, they have so far allowed trial to continue despite claimed irregularities in transfer. A tension between national security/treason prosecution and fair trial rights. 3. Summary of major legal implications and risks. Because of the Kenyan judgment declaring Kanu's transfer illegal, his defense may argue that Nigerian proceedings are tainted and seek dismissal or relief on that basis. Nigerian prosecution faces the challenge of demonstrating that despite transfer irregularities, the court retains jurisdiction and the trial can proceed fairly. For Kenya, the judgment imposes state responsibility and may lead to diplomatic or financial consequences. It also sets a legal precedent for how Kenya handles foreign nationals and extradition/rendition. International human rights law issues. Secret detentions, covert transfers, lack of legal safeguards raise concerns of arbitrary detention, inhuman treatment and denial of fair trial. The interplay of treason/terrorism charges in Nigeria with the human rights/transfer issues means Kanu's case is at the intersection of criminal procedure, national security and international law.